Lego collection
I'm sorry.
missing, causing a lot
If
of
you guys were
traffic
interested in
to
that, I'm
find
sorry,
it.
but
And after seeing the cops point guns at YouTubers, people get arrested and sued for 1.3 million, I decided
he breaks
enough
this stuff
was
down
enough.
super
This
good.
looks like a case for the internet detective, this time in the $10 million Lego studio. So I talked to every suspect involved. What I found shocked me.
Dude, Coffee's production is insane, bro. Genuinely.
A massive Star Wars collection was put on consignment at a Lego store called Bricks and Minifigs in Salem, Oregon. Consignment just means the owner, Brian Mansell, gave it to a store to sell, and he was supposed to get a cut when it sold. The entire time, he maintained ownership of the collection, and a social media post estimated it to be worth about $200,000. But then, on November 14th, 2024, everything went wrong. This was the night that Crystal and Ben Gorman, the prior franchise owners of the Salem store, got kicked out by this guy. That is Brandon Best. He and his partner, Josh Johnson, ran a sister store in Eugene, Oregon. And Brandon drove up that night to kick the Gormans out. Brandon and Josh would be taking over the franchise in Salem. And this is the exact moment the Legos go missing. As that store is getting handed over, the question is Brian's collection in it? Here's what the official Bricks and Minifigs press release reads. Quote, after taking over the store, we discovered a small number of sets valued between $2,000 to $5,000 that could be possibly related to Mr. Mansell's collection. But there's a problem here. There should be over 10 times that amount in this store, given their internal records and what we know the estimated value of this collection was. So if corporate's saying there was only $2,000 to $5,000 in the store, something
What
happened to
happened
these
to
Legos.
the
But
$195,000?
in order to solve this case, let's think about the suspects. First, who was there that night of the handover? It's only 3 people. Crystal and Ben Gorman, the former franchise owners, and Brandon Best, one of the new owners. These are our 3 biggest suspects, but they aren't the only ones. I want to address a few other suspects at the very start here. First of all, maybe this is just all the result of, plain old
thieves
breaking in. What about
Probably
that
not.
Hi, I am Chris. I was the previous franchise owner who signed the collection agreement with Brian Mansell.
And I'm Benjamin Gorman. I am the silent partner who's really bad at being silent.
We did have a couple
Ooh,
of
that was
break-ins
funny.
at the store. None of Brian's collections were in the police report or stolen.
No offense, these guys seem like nice people, bro. And I'm not trying to be like hating, but why this? Why this? You know what I mean?
During those.
Okay, so the Gormans say emphatically it wasn't thieves, but if that's the case, what
Doesn't
about
that
the guy
hurt?
who was arrested? I mentioned at the beginning of this video,
Reckless Ben.
This is the YouTuber who started
Yeah, why did
it
he
all.
get
In
arrested?
the documentary, I tracked down the thief who stole $200,000 of Lego. Maybe it's the perfect crime. Make a video tracking yourself. Now, for our theory, it's worth noting Ben is currently facing a RICO lawsuit by Bricks and Minifigs. He was even targeted with a search warrant for stolen Legos.
Included in the warrant are Legos.
The owner reported overhearing conversations about possible stolen Legos.
And on top of that, Reckless Ben was even accused of stealing the Legos by the current franchise owner.
I stole the Legos?
What do you think of the theory that it was Reckless Ben? He stole the Legos.
It's absurd. We didn't even know Reckless Ben. He
Yeah.
had no interaction, no relation to us, no relation to the store. That doesn't hold any water.
Okay, I'm gonna be honest. Apologies to the genius cops in Utah who play different,
We play differently here.
but I don't believe
You see me? I play different.
that Reckless Ben stole the Lego, mostly because he couldn't. He just
People be saying some cringy stuff, bro, and thinking they're cold. It's bad.
wasn't there that night, and I don't even think he knew about these Legos. But who does Ben suspect is holding the Legos since he did this whole documentary series?
The guy who runs the entire company.
I feel like I've seen that guy
Meth,
somewhere before.
He personally came out to talk to us.
So what's going on?
So you guys are holding some of our Legos?
No, we're not.
You're not?
No.
Is that a lie?
No.
That's a lie. You did take the Legos.
No. So we have our attorneys have visited, but like again, so who's
Brian Mansell.
Okay, and who is that?
He's a guy who had he had like $200,000 worth of Legos in your guys' store.
Nope. Never happened.
My name is Ammon McNeff.
That's a lie.
I am the CEO of the Bricks and Minifigs brand.
So my name's Matt McNeff. I'm the COO of Bricks and Minifigs.
The people you just saw are the McNeff brothers. They agreed to speak with me to try to clear their name. I asked them, do they have the Legos?
What I can tell you is that we don't have it. We've never had access to them.
It seems to kind of go missing. Parts of it seem to go missing on November 14th.
Well, and I guess no, not at all. I'm gonna say, you know, like that is not accurate at all. Because
So you think that the collection was in the store at the time or elsewhere?
Elsewhere. When you look at Mansell's own words that he reiterated to a podcast last year, he explicitly stated to another podcaster the sets were moved off-site.
Do you think this guy has insurance on his mustache? That's a real thing. Did you know that? Mustache insurance is an actual thing. I kid you not. I'll show you right now. Mustache insurance is a real, though highly specialized form of body part insurance.
For security.
The collection will not be stored on site after hours for security reasons, and after Sunday, the sets will be available for purchase but stored elsewhere.
Now, one thing that's been a big subject of the Bricks and Minifigs kind of story is, hey, there are these off-site locations. Can
Where
you
are
address
these?
what that is? Is that true?
So the off-site location in the letter that that corporate is referring to is the original press release that we released when we were launching the collection. In that press release, because we had previous break-ins, I specifically included the location that after this weekend, those Legos would be stored off-site to deter any future thefts. They were briefly stored off-site after that launch weekend while I bought safes for the back room, and then they were moved back into the store.
Okay, so for most of the time, the sets were in the store after y'all got the safes in.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so Ammon McNeff suspects that a lot of the Legos weren't
Who got
there
the
that
Lego?
night. And then on the other hand, we just heard from Crystal and Ben Gorman explaining the
Dude, my
off-site story,
freaking
saying that
wrist
later
hurt
they
for
no
her.
longer use those off-site locations. But what do we really know about the Gormans? They are
Not a
former
lot.
franchise owners after all. I mean, shouldn't we be suspicious of everyone? They're one of our key suspects. They were there the night we lost Brian's collection. They were the creators of the consignment deal after all. And one group in particular is pointing their finger at them very hard. It's the McNeffs who say they were behind on payments.
We started getting calls from the landlord letting us know that
It's these guys, I
Crystal
guarantee
was,
it.
behind on the lease payments at the location. We had also gotten a couple of notices from some of our vendor partners that bills had not been paid by the store, and so we felt pretty strongly that there was going to be a risk of her just, you know, like attempting to file bankruptcy, doing some of these other types of things which we've had franchisees do in the past, and that's problematic. So that's why we sent him up there to take some video footage. So we needed to just be prepared if we needed to do a hostile takeover, which, you know, like can happen in franchising, where a franchise owner just, you know, kind of tries to steal inventory and do some different things that way.
Okay, so Bricks and Minifigs' story is that they were worried about the Gormans skipping town, so they sent Brandon Best as a secret shopper on October 24, 2024. This is weeks before the takeover. Brandon takes a video of the store condition in preparation for this handover, but at this point, Brandon does not announce himself to Crystal Gorman. Later, though, on November 14th, once again, the same concern about the Gormans stealing or theft was expressed by the McNeffs.
Brandon was trying to make sure that they weren't taking things from the store, and so he was kind of trying to make sure that he wasn't putting things, you know, like hiding things in the back, and that and while he was watching that, trying to make sure Ben wasn't grabbing stuff from the store and moving it or doing anything along those lines, because he just got a weird feeling about the whole transition.
She took at least one, if not more than one, cartfuls of things out to her car with her coat draped over it.
So yeah, the McNeffs say, look, they don't trust the Gormans. And they explained it, you know, even further. They said, hey, there's some issues in her past.
She apparently has a retail theft and other criminal, like, arrests on her record that we were not aware of.
When was that?
I don't know. This has been brought out by several people online now.
Now look, that's a huge accusation to bring up. And so obviously I wanted to talk to the Gormans about it.
They're like, she has a history of some type of burglary, theft.
Oh my God. Wow.
Yeah, that's what they're
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, yes.
Well,
You
explain.
know about this.
Explain.
Yeah, when I was 19 years old.
saying. How long ago is that?
I am 45 now. So this was in 1999. This, something that happened 25 years ago, has no reflection and no bearing on what happened in the last 2 years, my management of the store, what happened the night corporate seized the store. It is another deflection, and it infuriates me. You're gonna try to publicly embarrass and shame me for somebody that was manipulated by local police departments when she was pregnant and 19 years old. Fuck you. That's my response to that. I am so sorry. You're gonna have to blur and cut a lot of this, but that pisses me off. I own what I have done. I own the mistakes that I have made. You can't.
Hey, yo, wait, what the dog doing back here, bro? Hang on. Ah! Ah! What? That's crazy, bro. Why don't we put a blur on that? What?
You cannot intimidate and bully me into backing down when I know that legally and morally I am in the right and I have the evidence to back it up.
Damn!
This is getting kind of nasty and personal at this point, and I just wanted to give people kind of their side. But at every turn, I hope you understand, I'm getting contradictory stories, down to if the McNeffs knew about her history in the first place.
Like, they're bringing up something that I told them about.
Wait, you told them?
Told them. They asked me.
They said they had no idea. They said if we knew, we would have never hired her.
Because we would not have hired her had we known this.
I told them I had a record from when I was 18. There was a family issue that, and didn't go into all of the details, but they were like, that's so long ago, we're gonna hire you based on who you are now.
Okay, I'm just gonna leave it there. You guys can make up your own mind. My point is, one side says up, the other says down, and it gets to the point both sides start hinting that they have photographic proof from the night of November 14th that proves the other side is lying. And so I'm like, look, at this point, let's stop talking. Show me the Legos.
Where I was told we are 100% have possession of photos that prove that the Gormans are lying, and then you guys are telling me we 100% have possession of photos that prove this side's lying. Who's gonna drop the photos first? I mean, I feel like someone just has to. Somebody's right here.
And after a lot of convincing, both sides agreed to show me the photos, corporate and the Gormans. In fact, I scheduled the calls to do this an hour apart from each other. But let's remember their positions for a second. The Gormans say whatever was left unsold of Brian's collection that was in that store spreadsheet was in Salem store the night of November 14th. Then you have corporate side. They say whatever was left that night was maybe $2,000 to $5,000 of Legos. The rest was either stolen by thieves, the Gormans, or held off site. It was not in that store. And on both sides, there's a lot to lose here, right? You've got the Gormans, who basically have been insinuated to have been stealing. And for Josh and Brandon, too, the new franchise owners, there's a lot on the line. I reached out to Josh, and he told me, I think her pictures would only show a few sets and minifigs. I replied, so if I can prove that the Lego sets were in the store, that will prove Brandon was lying. Josh replies, if it shows something different, then yes, I will eat my words. So the stakes have been established. And let's see the evidence, starting with Matt McNeff.
Let's see it.
First, they
McNeff.
showed me the video, October 24th, 2024, for a baseline of how the store looked.
So this is the Salem Kaiser location, is that correct?
It's the Salem Kaiser location, yes.
So is it fair to say I'm seeing quite a few Legos here? I mean, I'm seeing a store of Legos.
Why? Here's what I don't understand. And I don't remember who it was. Somebody was talking about, like, yo, honestly, if we have, I think it was Joe Bartolozzi, or Joe Bart. He said, if there's proof of UFOs, or if UFOs exist and everybody's seeing them, why don't we have a 4K video in a world where everybody can shoot in 4K? Tell me why this was shot 2 years ago. Back when, like, the iPhone 15 or whatever had just come out. And it looks like this. I'm filming this video on an iPhone 15. and it looks better than that. And that's like with low bit rate and everything. On my phone right now, it looks crispy clean because my phone is my webcam. Like, what is this?
Because you'd agree.
There's a good amount of Lego on hand. This isn't what I would say is a well-stocked Bricks and Minifigs, but it's not terrible. It's I would say a little below average as far as overall stock. So now let's go to November 14th. Can you still see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So November 14th, when Brandon was in there helping.
Wait, this is the day. This is like the big day.
This is the day.
Hold on, I gotta prep myself emotionally for this.
Okay.
This is a big deal. This is D-Day. This is the big moment. This is Brandon takes over the store.
Day.
We don't know where the Legos are after this moment.
We don't know where the Legos are after this moment. And I want to point out again that we've had this for a while. We haven't this is the first time we've shown this publicly. We've been waiting for our attorneys to give us the approval to say, hey, this is okay now to share in this capacity. So we'll go through these pictures. This is what Josh saw, or not Josh, sorry, Brandon saw. He took pictures of everything in the store.
That is cool. What is that? Are those, like, what are those? Those are really cool.
All the inventory in the store. This is what the shelves look like compared to what you just saw a moment ago.
That's a set? What? Yo, I'm buying that, bro. What?
Okay, so I'm seeing a lot less. Just to state the
Whoa.
obvious, go back a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm seeing like way less. So yeah, the pictures I was being shown on November 14th, those shelves looked emptier than they did on the day of October 24th. But to be fair to the Gormans, they addressed the empty shelves themselves.
As we get to the very end of this video in particular, right here, you'll see that empty space right here. So this is the retired and certified set section that we have to keep separate from the new in box current sets being sold by Lego. All those empty spaces up there were the sets that we had on display during the day from Brian's collection that every night when the store closed, we pulled off and put back into the safe and then put back out in the morning.
So when they say, see, there's empty space on the shelves, yeah, because we put them in safes at night to keep them safe.
Because we have giant windows.
Yeah, it's an explanation that kind of makes sense given the history of burglary. Now, of course, this is something I had to ask the McNeffs about.
Is this a case of, did y'all see Star Wars sets in the back? Did y'all not see the Star Wars sets in the back? Did he take, not in the back, but specifically in a safe? Like there were a bunch of Star Wars sets in a safe. Did Brandon see those? Has there been talk of those?
This
You
is
know
the
what I'm talking
moment.
about?
Yeah. My understanding is that he took pictures of everything, and all those photos I showed you of the Star Wars were all the photos, or was literally all the Star Wars inventory in the store.
Yeah, the McNeffs say all of the photos should be with Brandon of all the Star Wars items. And to be fair to them, they showed me a lot more pictures and even showed me a spreadsheet of all the Star Wars sets in the store the night Brandon took it over. And it valued to about like $5,000 to $10,000 or so. But then I had to ask. Sorry, here's another kind of set.
Okay.
Do you think y'all have all of these?
Very likely.
Okay.
Again, I'd be surprised if we didn't.
But then I couldn't help myself. I started to bring up some of Crystal's photos to see if they matched up.
Have you seen this before?
Not that I recall.
So do you see that?
Yep.
So do you see it's in like some kind of like a safe thing? I don't know if you can see the sides there.
Looks like a bookshelf to me, but sure.
Okay, sure. Yeah. So I think the important thing is making sure that all of these are in the inventory for Mansell.
Sure. Sure. That's cool.
75041.
Yep. The Vulture Droid.
75169.
169 I'm not seeing, so there may be... Okay, so there's one that is not on our list.
Let's try this. 10240.
Okay, nope, not seeing that one either.
What about 9493?
3. I don't see that one either. So maybe those were locked at the time, and Brandon did not get those pictures.
All right, that's kind of a problem because the Gormans had over 200 photos of this store. I definitely knew looking at these photos, there's a lot more Legos in the Gormans photos, by quite a lot that Brandon's photos just didn't show. But corporate didn't really see it that way.
But still, in the grand scheme of things, we're not talking, again, 10 times the amount of sets here.
I don't know. I haven't shown all the photos yet. I don't know exactly how much.
If there's a calculable figure that we can look at and say, great, this is what was there, I promise you it's not $100,000 worth of Lego. And so where's the rest of it? You got me. I don't know.
Maybe I'm a little too in my head about this U-Haul story. You don't think it could have been some U-Haul thing? There's no way.
Oh, yeah. Have we talked about the U-Haul?
No.
Yeah, we gotta talk about the U-Haul.
We gotta talk about the
This is
U-Haul.
another one of those-
Let's talk about the mother freaking U-Haul stuff.
Things that was like really disputed between the two parties was this U-Haul that supposedly was driven
My
up to
bad,
the store
gang.
the night of the takeover.
So when Brandon came to the store that night, he was driving a U-Haul truck.
Now, in typical fashion, this was immediately disputed.
Brandon showed up to the Salem store in a rental car. When he came to get the keys from Crystal, he was there in a rental car, not in a U-Haul.
It wasn't until after he told me he was taking the keys and locking me out that I really kind of paid attention to the fact that he had a large, not the small, the large U-Haul truck.
So yeah, I just kept hearing about this U-Haul truck. Now, why is it significant, U-Haul or not? Well, one, a U-Haul truck can fit a lot of Legos. But
What's
the big
up,
reason
bro?
It mattered to me was because I was actually called by an ex-employee.
How we
of the
doing?
Bricks
I
and
see you
Minifigs
up
store
there.
in Eugene, Oregon. Remember, that's the one that Brandon and Josh own. And he
We're watching oh shoot, my camera. We're watching the Bricks and Minifigs scandal. Basically, so there was these old owners of like a Lego store, right? And this guy, he came in with a bunch of Legos that he wanted to sell there, so they did a contract, whatever, where he would get a lot of the profit, and it was somewhere around $200,000. Then, new owners came in, took over the store, and kicked the current owners out. So then that contract was still supposed to be valid, but then after that night, the Legos went missing. And so the owners of the entire corporation are accusing the original owners, and then the new owners are also, I think, accusing the original owners. Original owners are accusing the new owners, and the original owners actually have some pretty good evidence to support their claims.
told me something very interesting.
But now we learned apparently that they're pulling up in a U-Haul, which the new owners pulled up into a U-Haul to the store that they took over. So I don't know.
2024, and I was working under the old manager Brian, and he sold the store to Brandon Best and Josh.
What store was this? Bricks and Minifigs where? Okay, now what did you see that made you want to talk to me?
I saw Reckless Ben's YouTube video about
Yeah, and I don't know this part, but apparently some YouTuber, Reckless Ben, he got like arrested, is like facing heavy charges or something, because they think he stole the Legos. So I don't know.
sales for closing down.
CoffeeZilla says he found the $200,000 missing Lego, so maybe
I was talking to my employee,
grown ass man fighting about Legos. Yeah, you know,
we were told through other employees that it
$200,000 though, bro. A lot of money.
it's working. It was like haunted, if you will, is what was going around. But after seeing the video of Reckless Ben, he exposed them, and it makes a lot more sense with what we dealt with Brandon and Josh.
Who is bro on the phone? Who is this guy?
Stole Lego sets and bolted out of the country.
Who says that?
Brandon Best told us. When he was dropping off all the Lego sets to us that night. Used, like, there was a bunch of used Lego sets that were like saran wrap. They had Star Wars CDs.
Yeah, those gummy bears. So I tried to buy something else earlier online and my card got declined. I was like, what? So I called the card company or whatever. Apparently my card was deactivated because I made a purchase like at the start of the month or something, and they thought that it wasn't me for some reason, which I don't understand because it wasn't even like a weird thing. So like, I don't know. It was a whole reputable online service thingy for like emails, and they're like, yeah, your card's actually locked. I'm like, can you unlock it for me? I was like, what?
Wait. They brought a U-Haul truck.
Boom! So that proves that the lies from the owners were lying.
And
The head corporation owners are lying.
Yeah, Star Wars sets and everything. A bunch of used stuff too.
Wait, when and was this when they took over the store from Crystal?
I believe so, yes.
Imagine being named Eugene. I know, bro.
Stole Legos and left the country.
While he has a U-Haul of
Crazy.
Yeah.
It looks like Eugene. Like, no offense to anybody named Eugene, but bro, that name sounds like the one stock image of that nerd.
Weird.
So then he said, we're just gonna hold on to this stuff until corporate tells us where we have to distribute it. And we're like, oh, well, it'd make more sense if we could take it because we're kind of struggling with, the product we put on the shelves.
Oh my gosh. We really got to find out. Was there a U-Haul that night or not? Because everybody's disagreeing about it. This Eugene, Oregon guy says, oh yeah, a U-Haul showed up with Star Wars sets in it. Brandon was talking about the Salem store. You've got Matt McNeff saying there was no U-Haul there. It was a rental car. You've got Crystal saying, yeah, I thought it was really weird. There was a U-Haul truck there. So I told the McNeffs, I really got to find out what the truth is here.
If you know anything about it, let me know, because that's just something I heard.
I do, and it has nothing to do with the Salem store. Well, at least not the Salem store in the way that it is there. Brandon showed up to the Salem store in a rental car. When he came to get the keys from Crystal, he was there in a rental car, not in a U-Haul.
So when there was the handoff, there wasn't a U-Haul; it was a rental car.
Correct. He was there in a rental car.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think any of the, like, if you were to look at the footage, the ring cameras, all that stuff, you won't see a U-Haul sitting anywhere in the parking lot.
So after hearing all of this, I realized, look, I just got to find the evidence. So I start sifting through these photos I have, right? I realize I have a parking lot photo. I check it. No U-Haul, just a red truck out there. I check another photo where you could see the window. But the problem is it's night outside, so you can't see. And so I'm looking at everything I can, and there's just nothing, And I have this alternate angle. I'm looking at that. And then, wait a minute. Zoom in on that photo. Bring up the brightness of this photo a little bit, and my gosh, there's a U-Haul.
That's a
in the
U-Haul,
parking lot
bro.
right outside of the store the night of November 14th, 2024. This is something that Matt said he had seen footage of, and it couldn't be true.
And again, I believe I have seen footage from that night that shows clearly out into the parking lot, and there's no U-Haul.
Yeah, so he's lying.
And that's when the story changed.
So last night, I talked with Matt McNeff. I brought up this question of the U-Haul. He told me emphatically there was no U-Haul. Y'all came to me this morning. You said, hey, we looked into it. There actually was a U-Haul there that night. Can you clear up what that's about?
So there's actually two different things that are going on here, just to help you understand. And I don't know if you want this particularly not on the record, but we do know of a disgruntled former employee that worked at another location that back on the 24th of October, there was a U-Haul that went to a storage unit in Salem for another previous franchisee, for a different situation that we had just, gone through some things, and he had a previously, hey, I have some inventory that I didn't turn over that I was supposed to. It's at this storage location. You guys can come pick it up. And so Brandon was sent on that day to pick up with a U-Haul inventory that then he moved down, but that was October 24th.
So when we're talking about this ex-employee, you're saying they are conflating the October 24th event of the U-Haul coming up to Eugene with Legos with some time after November 14th, after the store takeover. Is that correct? Am I understanding that?
Yes.
So this is now kind of a strange story. Corporate is saying there was a U-Haul at the Eugene store dropping off Lego, but that was from a different night, different collection. The CEO says Brandon showed up to Salem on October 24th for his secret shopper job with Crystal, and separately, he also was getting a different collection of Legos that also included Star Wars, and that's what he brought to the Eugene store and the former employee is remembering.
Something
Then,
sketchy.
Weeks later, on November 14th, Brandon supposedly shows up again with a U-Haul, but the reason isn't for hauling Legos.
Brandon flew in to Eugene that night. At midnight. So flew from Utah on the 13th, but landed in Oregon on like midnight of the 14th. Went and got a rental truck, and then went and stayed at a trailer that had previously been moved up there in anticipation, meaning a camper trailer, in anticipation of the potential hostile takeover previously.
Is that why he had a U-Haul? Is that the reason he had a U-Haul, was for this camper, or what's going on with the?
Yes. So then what happens is he takes his rental vehicle truck, and he tries to connect the trailer, the camping trailer, to that truck, and it's not rated for that particular weight, and he realized, oh crap. He called around and found that U-Haul had a rating for one of their box trucks, and so he grabbed that, went and got it at 10 a.m. on the 14th, and so he then went and hooked that trailer up to the camping trailer to a U-Haul, drove that trailer down to another location where he could set up the camping trailer in Salem, dropped off the camper trailer, and then he arrived in a U-Haul to the Salem store, and then went in, said hi to Crystal, and then as she was leaving, the door shuts, and so he locks it, calls the locksmith, takes him a while to finish up the changing of the locks. Brandon at this point is pretty exhausted, so and he has an hour drive back to Eugene to drop off the rental truck. So he drops it off at midnight or 1 o'clock, something like that, grabs the rental truck, and then heads back up to the camper trailer in Salem, and then probably gets in at around 2 or 3 in the morning, spends a couple of that's a little bit of sleep before he has to head back to the store at 9 a.m. before the other employees get there. The timeline that is trying to be portrayed just makes absolutely zero sense.
Okay, so I asked, obviously, for documentation of all of this from Brandon, and here's what I got. First, the U-Haul contract on November 14th. This checks out what we already know. Then I got sent a photo, the last one Brandon took in the Salem store, dated 9:44 p.m., where you can see what looks like the inside of a bird cage that the Gormans had. And lastly, I was sent a photo Brandon took of the mileage in the U-Haul as he dropped it back off at the rental place on November 15th, 12:41 a.m. Now, the time gap there is about 3 hours between the last photo in Salem to dropping the U-Haul off, which is a bit of a problem for our timeline.
Yeah, it took like 4 hours. I mean, I worked till like 11 o'clock, and I'm like, I gotta get up early for my other job.
You moved 4 hours of Legos out of this truck.
Yeah.
All right, so as weird as this U-Haul thing is, the timeline just doesn't fit, to be honest. If it took 4 hours to unload, you can't also drive to another city, load and unload and drop off the U-Haul in that time. But still, even if this is true, it's pretty weird, and it's one of the most bizarre stories I've ever heard, to have a U-Haul thing back to back. One of the times you're picking up Legos, the other time you're not, you're taking a camper. Nevertheless, without more proof, we kind of have to move on to another theory of how to find these missing Lego. This time, let's take the photographs that we have.
I still
And
think it's the
reconstruct
owners
what was
who are
the
in
night
charge.
on November 14th. Remember, that's the moment we
Or
lost
who
the
are
Lego.
guilty.
And this time, we're going to combine it with two more things. First, from corporate, I got the point of sale records from the Salem store from 2023 to 2024. And secondly, from Crystal Gorman, I got her internal records of Brian's inventory of what was sold or not in order to pay him and keep track of prices. Now, before we piece things together, I need to address something. At the beginning of this story, you saw the social post saying this collection was worth $200,000. That's what everyone knows this story as, the $200,000 Lego collection. But sadly, that post was entirely wrong. In Crystal Gorman's inventory, which has a high and low estimate value of these various Lego items, the real estimated value is about $107,000.
Still
They give
a lot of
high
money.
estimates and low estimates, but that's right there in the middle. And for simplicity, I'll just be using averages and estimates here, but understand that, you know, these numbers are not firm, given that they're unsold Legos. It's just rough possibilities. But the point is, it's worth nowhere near $200,000. And Reckless Bin, the one who made the original video covering this, said that surprised him.
Yeah, I mean, this entire time, literally every single person's been telling me there were $200,000. Like, that's how much, like, you could sell all these sets for.
My original assessment of about $200,000 was going up to his father's house and looking in 3 different rooms with all the sets. It was before I'd actually gone through and had set numbers and done an actual like evaluation. I looked at it and went based on as things progressed and as I started to delve more into the actual inventory and evaluating it, that number changed. But we put out the press release well in advance of the event itself, so that press release went out before I had those full numbers. So we went, this is a nice even number that will grab attention and bring people into the store, so we went with that.
And
Yeah.
I mean, to believe that is accurate at the high end. Like, it was one of those things where when she was looking through and going, well, it says this and it says this, like, you don't think even at
No.
the high end?
You haven't actually seen the spreadsheet.
No, I haven't.
You might want to cut that part
Yeah.
out because he hasn't actually seen the inventory sheet.
The spreadsheet says about from between 85,000 to 120 something thousand. In the
Yeah.
midpoint, about 107 or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Of what was inventory. Does that sound right to you?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this has been a really big point of misinformation to clear up, because if we're ever going to find the missing Lego,
So
we need to
am
start
I.
with the right number, the right value. It's
Exactly.
about $107,000.
That's still a lot of money, bro. I got like $14 and some change up
2023 and
there.
2024, the Gormans record sales of about $24,000 of Brian's collection in their inventory tracking list. And of those sales, Brian
That's a
was entitled
lot.
to about 65 to 70% of it. He
I'd
was
take
paid
that.
$17,000, which roughly tracks with that. Which means on November 14th, the big night, the remaining amount of Brian's collection that should have been in there is about $82,000.
Wow.
Now, it doesn't take a genius to realize this is a very different number than corporate provided, who found only $2,000 to $5,000 of it linked to Brian. And later they said they only found $13,000 to $15,000 in total Lego Star Wars.
So you're talking maybe $11,000 to $15,000 total Star Wars, and that's all Star Wars inventory in the whole store.
So that's corporate side of the story, but I didn't want to take their word for it. So I went through Crystal's photos myself, which she shared with me, and hired people to go through and hand tag the Star Wars Legos that were in these photos. We looked through over 200 plus photos, multiple videos, and matched what we saw with Brian's collection. In the end, I ended up with about $21,000 of Legos, matching Brian's collection, that can be proven to be in the store on the night of November 14th.
Bruh.
Now,
This
they
is the
jumped
downside
at
of having your
3
phone
to
be your
5
webcam.
times what corporate estimated, at least on their press release. Now, yes, there are inherent errors in these estimates. Maybe we picked up some Lego that matched Brian's collection, but wasn't Brian's. But even though this is a bigger number than corporate said, I have to admit, even with pretty generous assumptions being made, there's still a huge gap of about $61,000 here that I just couldn't find. But this
It's just a little margarine of error, you know what I mean? 60K.
I learned Brian
I want
had made
that.
a special side deal with M&R Productions, who had recently purchased some Legos from him. And this is where it starts to get messy. So these are the pictures that M&R Productions sent me, looking at
Whoa.
the Lego that Brian sold him. This was stuff reportedly...
Those are kind of
used
cool.
since.
Hang on a second.
Looking at the
I
list
like
starts to get
that.
messy. So these are the pictures that M&R Productions...
That's really cool. That one right there, that TIE fighter. I like that.
sent me, looking at the Lego that Brian sold him. This
Is
was
that the original
N&R
Cloud
Productions
City?
sent me.
No, bro, that is expensive.
Looking at the Lego that
Wow.
Brian sold him. This was stuff reportedly
That's
in storage,
crazy.
and it's interesting because of an early inventory list which had a column called location that Crystal used. And it listed a lot of the Star Wars items as being located in what they called storage. Now, previously I was told that all of the stuff in storage was put back in the store, but there's a bunch that's on this list that I can't find in the store that seem to appear in these pictures. Now, I've been assured, by the way, that most of these Legos were not part of the inventory spreadsheet. They were never given to Bricks and Minifigs. This is a separate part of the collection. But I did a check, and 100% of the items that match the Brian collection inventory just so happen to be listed with a location of storage. So this starts to make things incredibly fuzzy, and I'm inclined to believe that a lot of these are part of that same inventory list. Now, if we take that value of the side deal, that's about $10,000 to $20,000 that's not actually missing. Now, it was at this point I started looking more at the point of sales records. I realized maybe we could find some of this missing Lego there too. So this is from the Salem internal store records. Like, I guess this is what is entered when someone does a sale, and it's everything from September 2023 to November 2024 of Star Wars anything. And by the way, before we continue, yes, this was all a lot of work. If you want to, please support us on Patreon. That's how this show gets made. But anyways, according to those records, about $51,000 in sales went through during this time period in a way that matched Brian Mansell's collection. Now, that really worried me because Crystal's inventory list showed only $24,000 in sales for Brian, and Brian was only paid for that amount. But suddenly, I remembered back to a time when I spoke to Crystal, and I asked,
Thought I heard something.
how much was sold prior to the takeover?
Which is something similar from what you told me, Crystal.
Yeah.
You told me, hey, it was about 50-something thousand.
Yeah.
Wow.
But Brian was only paid 17,000.
Okay.
And it should have been about double that. And I'm just trying to make sense of that, given that everyone's accusing each other of theft right now. You understand?
I mean, without seeing any of those records, without seeing those individual tickets, I can't answer that any better.
Okay, this is kind of a problem. The math ain't math in here. 65 to 70% of 50,000 is almost double what we believe Brian was paid. And digging into the details, it turns out a lot of these sales come from what Crystal's spreadsheet actually categorizes as layaways, meaning they were marked as having been sold, but layaways are when someone puts a down payment on an item and later pays it off. But the problem was there were a lot of these, worth about $20,000 in layaway. And that felt a little strange to me. And because of that, I asked Josh Johnson, the incoming owner, and he responded, quote, there were 2 to 3 items on layaway when they took over.
So on the list of that, on the inventory list, do you know about how many layaways there were?
I haven't gone through and done a count, but I know it was vastly more than 2 to 3.
It was about 98.
That makes sense.
So there were about $15,000 to $25,000 worth of sets on layaway.
Okay.
That's just the part that's surprising. That's the part that I can't get my head around. I go, how could, let me just be really honest. I don't believe there was that much layaway. I don't know. I don't know how that's possible. How could there be that much layaway? I don't know. It's like I don't believe, because I was talking to some people about Bricks and Minifigs. They go, yeah, there's some layaway. There's not that much layaway. I talked to people who were neutral, kind of.
Yeah, you can't really mistake 2 to 3 with 92. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
People who were just normal Bricks and Minifigs people. They say there's not that much layaway. Help me understand why there's $20,000 worth of layaway here.
Oh yeah, that's absolutely. If you talk to other Bricks and Minifigs locations, layaway is extremely rare. I think outside of the Brian's collection. I
Okay,
don't
good. I'm not crazy here. So then why was there so much layaway there?
No, absolutely not. Outside of Brian's collection, I think at the time we maybe had 2 used sets on layaway outside of his collection.
Okay.
It was not a common thing traditionally. I don't know that we'd ever done layaway before the collection came in. With Brian's collection, it was a little bit different because so much of this collection were new in box, all in one place, reasonably priced, and a lot of the harder to find items. And so customers would come in and put, I'm gonna guess probably half of those layaway items were not gonna be sold to the person who took them on layaway, because we had several that would put them on layaway and then change their mind. So this was something like, somebody would come in and want 10 different sets but only be able to buy 1. Can I put the rest of those on layaway so you don't sell them? I'll pay $10 to put these sets on layaway. Traditionally with layaway, we would ask for 10% down. They'd have 30 days to make their next payment, or we'd refund the layaway amount and then put it back on the shelf. Because this collection was the collection it was, and I wanted to give these people the opportunity to, to get these sets, we were a lot more generous with how long and the amount of payments that people could make towards the layaway. So a lot of these, we had several of them. I think one of the Ewok villages, we put on layaway 4
I had the Ewok Village Lego set, actually. I just sold it.
different times, and then it came off of layaway and back on layaway.
It was
and then off
damaged,
and
like,
then
bad,
sold.
though.
So a lot of these would have gone on and off of layaway and then back out on the shelf, just depending on the person who was putting it on layaway. That was completely unique to this collection.
So look, I'll be honest. I don't trust Josh Johnson, but
me neither.
Something is weird here.
So a lot of these are, like look at this, like it says POS final sale price, but it's listed as a layaway, but it's sold for $5.99.
Yeah.
Because it matches with the store sale price.
Okay.
So were they on layaway? Were they accidentally marked layaway on the spreadsheet? What's going on there?
I mean, without seeing the actual sales ticket and seeing what else, like what items were sold together, what else was sold with it, I can't actually see the sales ticket. We had several layaway items in which customers were putting multiple things on layaway, paying for most of one item, and then, or they were buying, 8 different things together and then putting all of them on layaway and making payments on multiple items at the same time. Our Ewok Village was one of those cases. At some point he had, I think, like 8 or 9 different items on layaway. So they'd come in and make a payment for a bulk payment. I've got 800 things on layaway. I'm gonna make $100 on my payment. One customer in particular would do that, and then when he'd gotten up high enough to pay for one set, we'd pull that set out, mark it as sold. So without seeing the actual tickets and my layaway records, I cannot answer a question any clearer than that.
But I even found more than that in this POS data. I also found about $10,000 in sales that match Brian's collection that were
Some of this
not
base
marked as
makes me
sold
think it's footsteps.
under this inventory spreadsheet.
Some of our things that were not found were explained by the POS system because they were found in the POS system as being sold. So like they weren't marked on the spreadsheet, but they were marked as sold via the POS system. And this is about $10,000 worth of Lego that basically were matched.
See, and I don't know. Take anything happening from, let's see, sorry, I'm trying to do math here. I don't know without being able to see all of the records. There is a possibility that the consignments were ended when I wasn't at work and I just didn't go through and pull them up. They didn't get put in the consignment ticket. I hadn't gone through those consignments in a couple of months. I hadn't gone through the inventory in the back room in a couple of months. So it is entirely possible there were sales that were finished that I never clocked as being finished. I don't know that without going through and actually seeing it.
But you're saying it's possible stuff was sold, not updated on this inventory list.
It's entirely possible that stuff did not get updated on my spreadsheet. I'm not going to sit here and claim it's not possible. It's possible I missed things.
So where does this leave us? I know some people are jumping to conclusions here, but I must remind you that on the night of November 14th, 2024, Crystal Gorman was concerned about Brian getting paid or not getting paid.
He has not been paid his percentage yet, and if I don't have the tickets, I won't know how much I need to pay him.
Okay. So Crystal, ultimately, also that's a business thing and not necessarily yours. Brandon will take, because he's taking on the business, he takes on all that consignment.
So obviously, one could see that and say she was intending to reconcile with Brian. Maybe she hadn't gotten around to it. And of course, corporate will probably take a more cynical view of what she's doing by printing these receipts. But the point is, regardless of whose side you're on, I think we can all agree there's a lot of weird stuff here on all sides. Abnormal stuff. Sure, maybe you can chalk some of this up to bad record keeping between the U-Haul, the layaways, the $20,000 in Lego sets that corporate called $2,000 to $5,000 that was there that night, the off-book deals. But even if we can't fully know 100%, what these weird things were about, I think they tell a story of what actually happened to Brian's collection. In a way, multiple people, I think, are kind of right, kind of wrong. The Gormans were correct that more of that collection...
I think this is right where he's going to tell us exactly what happened. Listen up.
...was there that night of the takeover than previously thought. But corporate also alleged that some of it was offsite, and that appears to be partly true, although some of that is disputed, and it looks like, way more of the collection was sold and layawayed than Brian was paid for. But all in all, there's a lot less missing than many people think, especially if your starting number is $200,000. I estimated, and I must emphasize, estimated with bad records, that there's only about $10,000 to $20,000 in Lego that isn't explained by one of these sources. This isn't to say Brian's been fully compensated. Much of this, Brian wasn't paid for that I know of. So I estimate he's still out about $50,000 to $83,000 for Lego he wasn't compensated for.
That's
and
insane.
I think honestly that's something that Bricks and Minifigs obviously should handle and make right. Regardless of what a franchisee does, the new one, the old one, the company behind it must stand behind their product, their service, and I can't imagine a better example of a company doing the opposite. Unfortunately, Bricks and Minifigs has chosen to deflect and dodge responsibility at most opportunities and created a really awful customer experience that has snowballed into this crazy series of events. But instead of taking accountability for that, they've taken an aggressive legal strategy, which I told them personally was a horrible idea. As of writing this, Brian Mansell is being sued for $1.3 million as part of a legal campaign against him and Reckless Ben and any of the associates.
How does he
Remember,
get sued?
Brian
He's
is
the
guy who
what?
lost all these Legos at Bricks and Minifigs store, and I told the CEO and COO that's ridiculous and they should drop this. Look, mistakes have been made by plenty of people here, but there's a lot more people who have inflicted self-owns, the likes of which we've rarely seen, by just choosing the worst possible path at every fork in the road. No pun intended. But the best path to making things right, in my view, is by just making Brian
How's that a
whole
pun?
and moving on. Drop the aggressive legal strategy. You are a Lego store at the end of the day. You are supposed to be about fun, not about a rerun of Suits. But anyways, that's my investigation. Those are my closing thoughts. And I knew I wanted to approach everyone involved in this whole story with my results and see what they thought to close things out. Does all that make sense to you? Because I'm showing everyone in this story and saying, hey,
the thing
are
that
any of
doesn't
these
make
numbers
sense.
blowing your mind, or is any of this crazy to you?
No, it's not crazy. But what's crazy, again, all the photo evidence that both sides have points to there being, sure, $20,000 worth of Lego in this of Star Wars Lego in the store that night, right? I don't know, man.
He said 2,000 to 5,000.
Can people understand maybe why there was some confusion and why there was some hesitation when somebody comes in and says, hey, you owe me $60,000 worth of product and Lego, and we go, we don't even know who you are. Like, yeah, Crystal mentioned something about consignment on her way out the door. And we go, sure, we'll get that figured out. But then the guy just walks in and demands $60,000 worth of Lego? Like, what am I supposed to do other than say, cool, show me, can you show me the proof?
The problem is there's so much of a dispute on the timeline, and this is what's going to make this story so hard to tell, is like, they say, you guys are unreasonable. They tried, and eventually they gave up. But they say they tried it. They were basically met with, like, unreasonable requests, things like that. So
verification, documentation, is that unreasonable, do you think?
Well, I think they would say they provided the documentation, and you guys say you need more documentation. So I mean,
that guy, he seems kind of angry.
A spread, like, I understand a spreadsheet and a contract are a good start.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we never got that. That was never sent to us at corporate, by the way.
Y'all don't have the. Y'all do have the spreadsheet, though, yeah? Y'all have the spreadsheet.
That was shared online, but months after we asked for it.
It says it's. I'm so confused. It says I'm on the file right now. It says storage used, owned by BAM Franchising Inc. Owner Salem.or bricksandminifigs.com.
What are you looking at?
It says owner Salem.or at bricksandminifigs.com. That's you guys. It says owned by BAM Franchising Inc. It says created September 6, 2024. When I look at it, this is the Mansell list, I believe.
So this would have been created under, like, so we have the
y'all definitely have this. Y'all have access to this.
Well, I had no idea. Like, so if this is the first that anybody has shown me that a spreadsheet was created using, like, Bricks and Minifigs Salem, like, and all of this stuff was archived. This is the first I've seen that this spreadsheet was created by Crystal. And we don't know how accurate it is, how up to date it was. We don't know a lot of those types of things. And understand, I appreciate you sharing this with us because we had no idea. Again, you don't know what you don't know, and you can't, like, we don't know everything, and we don't go, like, looking in every nook and cranny everywhere. Like, we just don't know some of those things. So if that's there, we can now have our team go look for that.
When it comes right down to it, they're going to have to make a judgment call and say, who's telling the truth? The people who were taking all the pictures and say, and we couldn't take pictures of everything the night of, but we're being honest consistently, and the people who are saying, there was $5,000 there. Really? Like, that makes no sense. We've got the evidence, and yes, there's a discrepancy. We acknowledge we did not take pictures of everything, but does that mean that the discrepancy is, oh, and therefore these missing, percentage, whatever that would be, 5%?
We're gonna save my thoughts till the end, bro.
They're in the store, and we didn't get pictures of it.
If I messed up on my record keeping, I will take accountability for that.
Mm-hmm.
It's possible. If my staff didn't draw attention that consignments had left out, so I'd move them to the thing. Any of that, I will take accountability to that. I am more than willing to do that. I need BAM to show me those tickets.
As they promised to do.
I will sit down with Brian and talk this over and figure out what we missed and where it was missed and how it was missed and make that right with him.
I mean, that's new information no one's ever found out, so that's, like, awesome. They're gonna lose hundreds of millions of dollars because of their own wrongdoing. They're literally gonna destroy their entire company because they're this stubborn over maybe $20,000 worth of Lego.
Sure, I'll be keeping you in the loop with what
Nice. I'm excited. This was good work. My other final thoughts is, dude, you solved it, dude. That's awesome.
Brandon, Bess, and Josh Johnson are no longer working at Bricks and Minifigs. Bricks and Minifigs is suing Brian Mansell and Reckless Ben for over $1 million in damages. Definitely not gonna work. It's their fault. A restraining order is in effect against Reckless Ben to prevent him from speaking about Bricks and Minifigs. At the end of the day, bro, you were right. It's a Lego store, bro. The Gormans are suing Bricks and Minifigs. The lawsuit claims Brian's collection had an original aggregate value of around $250,000. Okay. There's a Penguin Zero video. And that's 9 days ago. We're gonna watch that. We're gonna finish that.
Well,
We're gonna
it
finish
looks
off
like
this
the
story.
Lego scandal is finally reaching its conclusion in what has been an extraordinary case filled to the brim with corruption, confusion, more going on than Game of Thrones. It looks like it's in the end game now.
Yeah!
Bricks and Minifigs is forever going to be a name that lives in infamy, I imagine, from this point forward. Reckless Ben was muzzled and unable to release Part 3 for a while, but he recently had the ball gag taken out of his mouth, so he has been able to drop Part 3.
Part 3?
Buckle your seatbelts. It's a wild ride.
There's
I'm about
3
to go to
episodes.
court, and I don't even know what I did wrong.
Right now, I kind of don't even know what I'm being charged for because all of the body cam footage has been redacted, and they say it's to protect the victims. However, I think there are some redactions that maybe don't make sense and that weren't to protect the victims, and there's some things being said about me that are redacted I don't know about.
So Ben requested the court audio, so this is real court audio that he had an animator make visuals for. Ben is representing himself here. That is like the
That's
biggest
ballsy.
blunder historically. That is usually ill-advised, not just from like legal experts, but basically anyone would tell you that representing yourself is a death sentence. You get bent over, they spank your cheeks.
Yeah, but hear me out, bro. If you can represent yourself in court and get away, like not get away with it, but like you know what I mean, like not get thrown in jail or like not get charged or something and prove somebody else is wrong or something, who's suing you, right? Not be found guilty, I guess. If you can do that, the amount of aura that the amount of aura, bro. Hang on, we gotta clip farm that. Hold on. The amount of aura that you know what? You gain so much aura. My bad, I had to get a clip, you know what I'm saying?
A bold move from Ben here to Phoenix Wright for himself. He is now explaining that he doesn't know what he's being charged with because a lot of redactions are in place.
I do have some concern in this case with the defendant representing himself. The allegations here relate to the fact that the defendant, he's a person he's a YouTuber. Who creates videos, publishes them online.
It's kind of cool that YouTube has become such a thing where it's not even like a website anymore, but like literally in court you could say, yeah, he's a YouTuber. If you go back 20 years, people are looking like, he's a what? Like, that is kind of freaking awesome, bro. Good job, YouTube.
If this defendant were to represent himself and we were to provide body cams and discovery, we would be now providing additional information and fodder for this defendant to create videos from which he could profit by placing.
Bro. You can already tell that whoever this lawyer is, whatever, you can already tell that he's trying everything he can to make the body cam footage not come out, because obviously it's going to show something.
At the expense of our victim.
I can't even find the words for how dumb that is.
For that.
Yeah, the state of Utah is claiming that if they tell me what I'm being accused of, then I'll use it for content on my YouTube channel. And they can't have that. They're arguing to the judge that the best thing to do is to not let me know what's being said about me, which is very strange, but that's their argument.
Yeah. Now, you'll be shocked to hear this. I hope you're sitting down, because if not, it's going to knock you off your feet.
I want to test it. Throw it at me, Charlie!
I've never actually said this out loud, so brace for impact. I am not a lawyer.
Whoa!
I know. You can quit your screaming, creaming, crying,
oh!
farting, pooping. It's true. I am not.
What?
So I truly don't understand this argument that had they told him or gave him the
another clip, boys?
information for what he's being charged with or what's being said about him, it would be dangerous because he's representing himself, and as a YouTuber, that would be giving him fodder for YouTube content. That feels like a big fucking stretch. So because he has a YouTube channel and he's made content around this case, they now believe they can just withhold information related to his legal matter here because what if he makes content out of it? Like it's the fucking boogeyman or something. Like, oh, he's gonna Gangnam Style on our victims and trample all over them with YouTube videos that are mean. Thus, we can't give him any information about what he's being charged with or what's being said about him. I don't really understand it. I don't know if this...
Me neither. And it's crazy because this whole case is wild just from, like, all the confusion. And then I'm sure, I'm 100% positive cases like this have happened before where, like people who originally seem like the good guys are getting charged or whatever. But in this case, he's just a YouTuber, right? He's not like, it's not like he's the one who did the whole crime. Like, let's use our brains for a second. We know that that's not true. So it's just ridiculous, like, how even the old owners too, like, everybody's getting sued, but the people, at least at the time, but the people who needed to be sued, right? Like, suing a YouTuber because they think he's involved or whatever. Come on, bro. And then withholding body cam footage is just insane to me.
The standard procedure, because if that's the case, couldn't you make that argument for anyone that has like any social media, which is basically everyone on the planet at this point? Yeah, we've decided that it's too dangerous to be giving information to this individual here because they have a TikTok account. They might say
he makes a good point.
Nasty things on there, and we'd
Exactly.
just be giving them fodder. I'm assuming it's because he's defending himself that they're able to try and make this argument. Had he had a lawyer, I imagine this shit wouldn't fly. But I'm just spitballing here. I don't really know. I don't really get this stance that they're trying to take about it.
The court's inclined to sign this pretrial protective order unless you have an objection to it, Mr. Schneider, and the objection to such an order.
Yes, I think there's a bunch of misunderstandings in this case, and so this person doesn't want to get exposed, so he's making up a lot of lies about me to order to like get me arrested before he gets exposed. So that's what this whole thing's about.
However, before I was allowed to show any of the overwhelming evidence I have to support my claims, the judge didn't care about the evidence and signed the protective order anyways.
Mr. Schneider, the court's going to sign this order and serve it upon you.
So the court has made it clear they do not want to look at the evidence and they want to protect Josh and Brandon for some reason.
It's corruption!
I think it's more so the consequence of not having an actual lawyer to represent Ben here.
No, it's corruption!
If I'm being honest. I think had he had an actual legal representative instead of trying to just, you know, fucking white knuckle it and do it himself, like grit his teeth and defend himself, this probably would have
Yeah,
gone
so he didn't really
differently.
gain as much aura.
I think had a lawyer been there, they probably wouldn't have been able to make that argument about, like, we have to ensure he doesn't get more content morsels, more content crumbs. Like, I think having a lawyer would have been extraordinarily helpful here in this case.
So this whole mess is happening in American Fork, Utah. But I'm also being charged with another case in Provo, Utah. This is where corporate Bricks and Minifigs is, which is why I'm also being charged here. And this police department has surprisingly actually followed the law when it comes to discovery. And they sent me all the raw body cam footage of what I'm being charged for.
Like $250,000 worth of Legos in your store?
Never happened.
But the CEO did not want to take the opportunity to do the right thing and instead instantly called the cops on us.
Hi there, I'm calling to report a crime.
They themselves say, hey, you guys stole this product from this person. If you don't give it back, I'm going to burn the place down. Or we're going to burn the place down. Or I'll kill you. It's Ben Snyder who's been the one engaged in this behavior.
You can...
Did he say that? Did he threaten to kill him? Because if he's lying about that, that's kind of wild. And that
In the
should
police
say
report
something.
that the crime he wanted to get us charged for is called extortion, which basically means we're threatening him into paying us, which is very illegal. However, However, obviously he's just making all of this up. The reality is, I just thought it was a nice gesture to give him the opportunity to do the right thing first.
If you guys do have our Legos, we just kind of want them back, you know? And
Holy Toledo, man.
So he's
Heavens
threatening to
Betsy.
kill
Ammon
them,
Mc-
right? So if that aim off guy, Amos, whatever it is, not aim off, the other one, Ben. If he, hang on, bro, the cat wants to leave. Come on, what are you doing? What that way? Good boy. So if that Ben guy, if he is literally lying to the officers on the phone, being like, yeah, you know, they said they're gonna kill me, they're gonna burn the place down. If that's a lie, and they're showing it in court now, it's obviously known that he's lying about it. So how does that not count for something against him? Like, what?
Neff is such a slimy twerp, just a fucking sniveling dweeb, bro. He is the
That's what I
epitome
said.
Of dork. This guy is a wedgie magnet.
Wedgie magnet!
This is something else that Ben is now having to contest with here. And you can hear immediately after that first interaction where Ben went to Ammon, the head of all of this, to try and like say, hey, this is what's going on. This is what we believe is happening. Will you work with us, give the Legos back, that kind of thing? And Ammon, you know, instantly put up a stink like, nope, not happening. Scram,
Bro.
Take a hike, Buster, get out of here.
Yeah.
And then he goes inside, instantly calls the police and says that they're threatening to burn the place down or I'll kill you, and is trying to charge them with extortion. What? What? I mean, that's classic Ammon McNeff fashion at this point. This guy is like,
Oh, it is Ammon.
dangerously delusional.
I thought that was Ben.
He probably went out there and just heard, like when Ben was talking, just heard like Charlie Brown's parents, wah, 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 and then just made up this whole fanfic in his head. This guy must have come here to threaten to kill me. Yep, time to report him to the police. And great news, Bricks and Minifigs fans and employees and customers. This is who's running the business, by the way. This is who is at the top
thank
of
God.
the food chain.
I thought it was somebody
sitting on the
psychotic.
throne at Bricks and Minifigs. A guy who, if you take a problem to him, might turn around and call the police and accuse you of threatening to kill him and try and charge you with extortion if you have an issue and are trying to directly communicate with
That's
him to get it
hilarious,
solved
bro.
amicably. I mean, dropping the sarcasm, that should very clearly send a pretty concerning message to anyone that does business with Bricks and Minifigs, right? Like, it has to. So now, Ben talks about how his plan was to go to the police about Ammon McNeff falsifying this report about him, because he has all of the footage, all of the raw footage to prove he never threatened to burn the business down or kill him or anything like that. So he made a case against Ammon.
Yeah, literally,
about-
lying to an officer is a crime. So why is he not being...
about this.
What?
He submitted all of his
I don't get
footage
this.
to prove his claim. Apparently, he even had access to Ammon's evidence, which was basically because it was just a bunch of barnacles. It was just straight up horseradish. So his plan was to open a case against Ammon McNeff for this hogwash.
My name is Ben Schneider. A couple months ago, I made a case, and you were the officer that was helping me create it. I submitted a bunch of evidence through a link you sent me, and this was a couple months ago, and I haven't heard anything back. And so I'm just calling to see if I can get some type of update on how the case is going.
We're sorry. Your call cannot be completed.
Yeah, literally no matter what I tried, I could not get a hold of this police officer. Eventually, I did find an answer. They sent it to me in the mail, and looks like I was right. The police only had time to take on one of our cases. And
Why'd it get muted? Well, what am I supposed to do here?
So Ben was trying
Bruh.
every option imaginable to get in touch with the officer that helped him set up the case in the first place and put it into the system. He even went to the department in person. There was another officer on the phone that reached Ben, telling him that the officer he's looking for isn't there, and she can't provide any updates about that case or anything. which meant Ben still had no answers or communication from the authorities on what's going on with the case, so he left with his dick in his hand and nothing to show for it until the Ammon McNeff toilet paper floated in through the mail there, apparently. And again, I think this is probably due to lack of lawyer. I imagine had a lawyer set this up, like went through this case with Ben and put it into the system with the authorities, they probably wouldn't be able to just fucking brush him off like that, because there is very real, very compelling, very substantial evidence from Ben's camp proving that he never threatened Ammon McNeff's life or anything like that. So had a lawyer been with Ben, I imagine they would have been able to actually, get this to where it needed to go. Whereas Ben taking it all into his palm meant that they could get away with just giving him the runaround here, the fucking reach around. And I do agree with the sentiment a lot of people have been expressing, that had Ben had a lawyer or even just like a legal person to consult with, there probably would have been a lot more points throughout this story that there would have been a big W here, like an actual ability to stop some things from spiraling out of control, like what's happened here. And I recognize that it's not exactly like a financially viable thing all the time, but with Ben's freedom in jeopardy, it's probably worthwhile to explore the option, especially with how big this story got. I'm sure there were.
Yeah, because the problem is with, at the start, I was like, oh shoot, he'll gain aura, right? But he did not gain aura, so it would have been so much more worth it to just get a lawyer.
Lawyers that were willing to
even a court-appointed
actually
one.
Fight with Ben here for, not something super unreasonable, if I had to guess. And I think it could have been extremely helpful in actually stopping a lot of the Bricks and Minifigs hoopla.
Why does this keep cutting out, bro? What the heck?
No extortion code that would fit your situation. However, at the end of the day, we do want to help you guys, having to deal with this fool and all of his issues. We did find that there was another code that fit, and it's called aggravated commercial obstruction.
Come on, how is that permissible? This is just blatant, bare-naked corruption here.
Yeah, they're literally... I'm baffled right now. They're trying... So, I'll tell you what. They are trying to literally find any way that they can charge Ben. They're actively... The cops are on their side. NF, whatever. Searching for a way to charge him. That is insane.
So this is an officer here. She's saying, yeah, so couldn't really, ham-fist extortion here. It didn't really fit the criteria, but we want to help you guys because this fool, this fucking clown, right? I know, he's so annoying. Ugh. So, with a little bit of mental gymnastics and a tad bit of elbow grease here, we do have something that can maybe fit here, called aggravated commercial obstruction. So they're just doing everything they can to help Ammon here, help the corporations instead of the civilian here, who has real evidence to prove their innocence against these claims. The authority here, the officer on the phone, she even says, yeah, it doesn't match your accusation of extortion, so how about we change your accusation a bit so that way we can make it work. That's fucked up.
Couldn't have
Why
said
are they
better
doing
myself.
Why are you going out of your way to try
He
and
said it
make
better
a
than I
case
did,
for
I
this
mean.
guy who has already just showed that he was wrong about an accusation? So he has been proven liar, liar, plants for hire, and now you have gone out of your way to blatantly state that
Liar, liar, plants for fire. Or plants for hire.
to help him, help
love
them, the
Charlie's
corporation,
personality,
the
bro.
good guys, by the way. So now you have found something that can maybe fit here for them to utilize as a weapon against them. That shouldn't be allowed. That's fucking crazy.
However, the tricky thing is that we have to prove that This individual either entered or remains unlawfully on the premise. When he came to the property, did you have to ask him more than once to leave?
Yes.
Okay.
You know, we're not leaving until we get it. And he's like, no. I'm like,
That is the tricky thing, isn't it, officer? So luckily she was helping Ammon build the case here on this new claim that has been pulled out of her ass in order to fit Ammon McNeff's desires to have been arrested or punished legally as much as possible. And the lawyer is more than happy to oblige. I don't know if this... excuse me, the officer. It's basically Ammon McNeff's lawyer at this point, to be honest. The way she's fighting for him.
Most valuable
so now,
stutter.
Talking about like how when he was asked to leave, Ben and his team refused to. So Ben showed evidence that the first time they came around, when the conversation had progressed to the point where they said that you'll need to take it up with someone else, they left without issue. The second time he came back, you're about to see that Ammon asked him to leave in the middle of a conversation while Ben was still speaking, and then continued the conversation with Ben. So he didn't leave after that first one because the conversation continued, but then when Ammon asked him again at the end to leave, they did leave without issue.
To Ammon's credit, about halfway through the conversation, he did say that if we don't leave, he's going to call the cops on us.
You can leave. If you come back here, we will call the cops. If you don't leave right now, I will call the cops.
So you don't want to do the easy way?
And this is right after I told him you could do it either the easy way and just give us the Legos back, or we can do it the hard way, implying that we would take him to court.
So you're threatening me?
I'm not threatening. We're right. Like we have a right to the Legos, so we're gonna get them the easy way or the hard way.
What proof of ownership have you provided to me that you own this Lego?
I mean, I can give you proof if you want.
Right, provide proof.
But right after he says this, he's now asking us to provide him proof that we actually are entitled to these Legos, so we can't leave now because he just told us to stay and provide proof. And then at the very end of the conversation, he says this one more time.
Okay, you've been asked to leave. Please leave.
We have to leave? Okay. Well, thank you for working with us, and so see you later.
But now let's hear how Ammon describes it to the police.
Guys, at this point, I've asked you to leave. Please leave. Well, we you know, like, you have to listen to us. You have to pay us this money. No, guys, you need to leave, and you're not leaving. Like, but I asked multiple times, they did not leave.
Looks like that might be a second-degree felony.
Oh, no! Actually, it looks like you are defending him! You are on his side! I don't understand, bro. You're literally on his side. You're a cop. You are meant to just listen, protect. You are not meant to be the judge, to be the lawyer. That's not your job. You're over here being a lawyer, helping him figure out what to accuse him of. You're helping him accuse him. Why? Get this cop at it. Fire her. Fire her. Also, he's lying. You're lying. You are lying. L-I-N-G. Lying. With a capital P, bruh.
Felony charges. It is a felony?
The officer can't
No,
even
it's not.
hide her giggle. You can literally hear her smile through the phone.
Felony?
She gets
Shut
to do
up.
something good for Ammon McNeff. Let's go. I don't know. I don't get it. Why is she kind
Me
of
neither.
giddy about it?
I don't know.
That's
Why is she
fucking
giddy about
wild
it,
to
Charlie?
me. So yeah, the first time he was asked to leave, he as he was talking,
I forgot to
talking
switch
about
it
the
back. My bad, bro.
easy way, hard way thing, which we saw in the initial video, the first part, and then he talked about, all right, we'll provide proof. So like he continued the conversation. So I understand, like, yeah, he was asked to leave and didn't instantly leave, but also Ammon continued the conversation, and then when he did ask the second time, they left. Like they didn't put up a stink about it. They left.
Hang on one sec, bro. I'm moving myself down here.
And from all of the available evidence here, it doesn't seem like they made some kind of crazy stance like, no, we're not leaving, or anything like the way Ammon is describing it. But now the officer is going to be working off that claim from someone who has already been proven incorrect with their extortion claim. It's a little weird, right? I mean, that's a little fishy. This is what everyone has been saying. The way
Still
that
don't
the
like it.
police department here in the area is handling this case is very fucking peculiar. From all the body cam that we've seen, the way they interact with the Bricks and Minifigs top brass, it's very chummy and it's very fucking odd. Like, it does feel extremely corrupt. Now, in the next section, it's focusing a little bit on how Amnon McNeff always falls back onto the world's smallest violin. Oh, I don't understand. Oh, goodness, we're doing everything we can to work with you guys. Come on, we're just asking for some proof. And then every time proof is trying to be provided, they were getting, like, ghosted and stuff. Then also trying to communicate via email to get the inventory from Bricks and Minifigs was a complete fucking disaster across the board. That was a big old hot potato that just, this shit was too steamy. Hot tub was too hot. So, like, just this big mess. So Amnon McNeff always says things about, like, we're trying to get this fixed. We're doing everything. We're the good guys. Why don't you understand that? But, oh my goodness. Oh, even trying to sound like Amnon McNeff just hurt my throat. But the point is, he says these things.
Wow,
but the
he
actions
damaged
throughout this
his
entire
lungs
thing don't
or his vocal
corroborate
cords,
that.
I mean.
It seems like he has put up a big old fuss every step of the way. And
Oh my gosh, bro, I gotta freaking take a leak. I'm sorry, bro. Oh my, I'll be back.
Not been
Alright.
overly communicative, nor overly amenable to trying to get this whole situation fixed or solved, or even like really look into it at all.
Store figured out what was part of his collection, taken inventory, and shown him that inventory to offer that.
We've tried to share those with Mr. Mansell in hopes that he can see, like that we were not attempting in any way, shape, or form to withhold anything. Those then were offered to him, and the initial offer was rejected. One priority right now is to ensure that he gets made whole. We know that we have a responsibility to work with him to make sure he does get made whole.
So you've offered Brian the inventory of sets that was in the store.
Yeah, whatever was left over, we've offered that on multiple occasions. So we've tried to make multiple offers, and hopefully we'll be able to get them to the table so we can discuss it.
I still can't get over Amnon McNeff's humiliation ritual that he is still in the midst of. So, like, he always tries to say, like, how hard he's tried to work with Brian and doing everything he can for Brian. I mean, he's the belle of the ball. We have to do everything, and we know that at Bricks and Minifigs we value our customers so much that we want to do everything we can to fuck them in the face when things go wrong. Like, he's publicly trying to say, this is what we're doing to try and make them whole. It's... of the utmost importance, but all of the actions that they actually take outside of his lip service indicate the opposite. Like, it's important we remember, they are actively in a lawsuit that names Brian Mansell in a $1.3 million lawsuit, by the way. So you care so much about making him whole that you'll go through an aggressive legal strategy in order to fucking smite him, huh, Ammon? Is that right?
Unfortunately, Bricks and Minifigs has chosen to deflect and dodge responsibility at most opportunities and created a really awful customer experience that has snowballed into this crazy series of events. But instead of taking accountability for that, they've taken an aggressive legal strategy, which I told them personally was a horrible idea. As of writing this, Brian Mansell is being sued for $1.3 million as part of a legal campaign against him and Reckless Ben and any of the associates. Remember, Brian is the same guy who lost all these Legos at Bricks and Minifigs store. And I told the CEO and COO that's ridiculous and they should drop this.
But go on, Ammon, about how much you care about Brian and ensuring that he gets what he's owed so this can all be made right, while also actively suing him. You dirty rat, you little bastard, you. Classic Ammon McNeff.
The entire time we were saying, hey, we want to help, we want to help.
The main narrative now seems to be Bricks and Minifigs has always been trying to give Brian his Legos back, but Brian just never wanted them back.
Would you be willing to just take this? And the answer was no. It was attempted to be given to the family, and it was refused. They made the offer and said, hey, you can have all this, and that offer was not accepted at the time.
Well, that's Ammon's side of the story, but I'd say let's take a look at what actually happened.
Read from the bottom up. That is our correspondence with Bricks and Minifigs, trying to work with them in getting the sets back.
So right when this happened, Brian hired an attorney to reach out to Bricks and Minifigs. They sent an email saying, how should we proceed to retake the possession of the sets/minifigures? And they actually emailed back saying they were willing to help. And then after this, they just never respond. So Brian's attorney sent them another email, just following up on this, when can we pick up the sets? And they still didn't respond. So the attorneys emailed back saying, it's now been 16 days, how can we get these Legos back? And finally, they received a response.
It says Brandon Best and Joshua Johnson have no legal obligation to return any of the Lego product that exists in their store to you. What?
Surprise! Wow! My jaw was on the floor. You mean that they were not actually willing to work with Brian? Despite what Anna McNeff said, but he said so. What do you mean that the proof contradicts that statement? That's so weird, man. You calling Ammon McNeff a liar? I don't know
Ammon?
about that.
Never!
What's next? You gonna tell me dog shit smells like poop or something? So yeah, anyway, Ammon can say all he wants, keep flapping his gums about how hard they've tried to work with him,
Yo,
but
chat,
all
stop
the
saying
evidence
I'm sexy,
seems to
bro.
point to that just not being true at all. So like Brian is now showing the correspondence where they were actively trying to get these Lego sets back, and in classic Bricks and Minifigs fashion, just getting ghosted, just met with crickets. And then eventually, when they did get communication, they put up this strong stance about like, there's no legal obligation, by the way. So, go kick dirt, pussy.
They
Go
finished
kick
this
dirt.
email saying, we consider this matter closed and will not be returning any Lego products to you. So as you can see, that's the reality of what actually happened. But then Ammon goes on Fox News and says this.
So they actually did have an attorney send information to us. We said, great, appreciate this. Let's see what we can do to work this out.
Yeah.
And then we never heard back.
Telling lies, Ammon? Yes, Papa. Yikes, dude. Again, I don't know why Ammon keeps doing all these interviews when there is...
Yeah, so... I mean this genuinely, not to... Well, I guess to insult him, but like... Dude, I mean this. How are you going to be so incredibly, undeniably, visibly, visually, physically, emotionally, mentally stupid to the point where you literally, multiple times now, by the way, are entirely documented of doing one thing or being told one thing, whatever, and then going to, like, people of power, people of influence, whatever, like the news or the police, whatever, and quite literally lying about it. Like, the definition of a lie. Like, oh, we never heard back. They never heard back from you. You were the one lying about it. And then the police, oh, he said he's gonna kill me. No, he didn't. Like, what? Dude, oh, it's making my blood boil. My blood is boiling, bro. Part 4?
Plenty of information to instantly
Wait. Oh.
Predict his statements. He himself contradicts his statements. He is always flip-flopping and just looking like a damn fool. But he keeps doing it. And this is what Coffeezilla was saying in his video. There have been mistakes on all sides for how this case has been handled. But it is a masterclass in deflection and bad decisions from Bricks and Minifigs that has just completely torched their entire brand and reputation because of this unwillingness to actually try and get things solved. Instead, they go for these aggressive legal routes that are just overly strong, heavy-handed, that instill just not actually working to try and get the core problem solved, which is a customer took a massive Lego collection to a Bricks and Minifigs because they trusted them to do it correctly. Things went tits up, and then when they tried to get things solved, get it fixed, Bricks and Minifigs wasn't open to it and wasn't actually able to work with them in any meaningful capacity and became combative, aggressive. There was also right away that, what was his name, Key, whatever the fuck his name was, making like threats about how they'll like draw this out in court and you'll lose more than you would have ever gained, that kind of thing. So like, again, there were mistakes handled across the board, but Bricks and Minifigs, I believe, bears most of the blame because this could have been solved so long ago if they were just open to at least reading the fucking inventory that they had access to for the longest time and trying to figure out, okay, what's where. The previous franchisee, Crystal, what did she sell and forget to mark down and that kind of thing. Like, what, actually dive into it and solve it. But they just refused, and instead they went this nuclear option. And in doing so, they've been caught in so many lies themselves that make the entire company look bad. So it's just, it was so easily avoidable, I feel, given the scale of this company. A mega corporation here. They make multi-millions.
Broski. What's up, Broski?
This was something they could have probably handled promptly. But instead, they chose this. It's so weird.
I'm now starting to think that the only reason Ammon wanted us to email him about the inventory list wasn't actually give us the inventory list, but actually it was a trap. Yeah, Ammon only wanted me to email him so he can find out my email and subpoena Google and find out all of my private information.
Is that true?
You think I'm lying, but they actually did this. They subpoenaed Google asking for all private information tied to this email address, and Google sent them like hundreds of hours of all the raw footage from everything I've filmed to the Lego video so far, all my emails, all my search history, all the metadata that shows everywhere I've been. But anyways, this was the reaction of the police officer after she watched my entire first episode.
I'm really curious to see like if this school even makes any money doing this YouTube stuff. I'm like, if it's enough for him to travel.
I didn't even know you could do that. So the Provo Police Department here subpoenaed Google to get all of the information from that email address, like everything that had ever filtered through it through Google's systems. And now one of the officers has like watched some of the footage and is talking shit like it's a League of Legends lobby here. Like, does this fool even make any money, you think? Like, he's able to travel? So now she's just like gossiping here.
To another state just to go get some footage. It doesn't even sound like his like secret information doesn't even seem credible from my understanding.
No, so it sounds like you were able to watch the video.
I think by secret information, the police officer is referring to the security camera footage that proves that everything Bricks and Minifigs is saying is a lie.
It really does seem like they're best buddies here. It smells, kind of reeks of something fishy afoot. It's very peculiar.
Yeah, you're a fucking thief.
Yeah. Okay.
You can shut the fuck up. That's your fucking choice.
Bricks and Minifigs is also getting me for RICO charges.
They're charging Reckless Ben for RICO. I think it is more likely that the police are guilty of RICO, right?
And if you look at the CEO's previous businesses, he actually got sued for RICO. He's the one guilty of RICO, not me. They're also accusing me of sending a sniper to shoot out the windows of the McNeff house.
What?
You can see the window and see where they were shooting from. It could be a sniper point on the hill.
When the police got there, they realized it was actually a construction worker who accidentally shattered the window.
It seems more likely that it happened from construction work than it happened from some random people across the way.
Holy shit, been recruited.
Yeah, we stole from him. He wants it back. Can you believe it? Officer lady, please do something. Yeah, and you know what? Actually, I'm pretty sure they're on the hill over there sniping at me. What? It's Legos.
Put a sniper to blast them?
That's what I'm saying, Charlie. Dap me up.
Like, this is craziness, right? Like, this is actual craziness.
Loco.
And yes, McNeff does have a very shady history. It's something that I haven't even really touched on all that much. But yeah, his history is quite unsavory. And the fucking sniper thing is wild. Like, they just throw the kitchen sink at him. Like, these outrageous accusations here. Oh yeah, it might have been a sniper up on the hill that blew out this fucking window, by the way. And then they go and it's like, no, I don't think it was, actually.
But even after all this, they still go online and say it was me.
I want us to take a deeper look at this post here from Dan McNeff to really let this marinate for a second, because it's quite a.
Is he gonna read it or am I gonna read it?
Today's version
Okay.
of a lynch mob could very well be YouTube investigators. At 1.6 years ago, I was the CEO of Bricks and Minifigs. My sons illegally removed me from that position and sued me for control of another company I founded. This is what I'm talking about, man. Ammon, like, they are shady people. Like, they are real. Like, Ammon is a fucking worm, dude. So, like, even his dad has been on the receiving end of his diabolical rampage of filth. He then goes on to say, I have had nothing to do with Bricks and Minifigs since then. Regardless of this, in the last 10 days, I've been given multiple death threats, and 2 days ago, we saw people viewing our home from a hill behind our home with binoculars, and they shot out a big picture window that will cost thousands to replace. Which, as we...
It was construction. It was probably a 2x4.
We've seen on body cam, the authorities did go out there and investigate, and they said, no, it was probably a construction worker that blew this bitch out here. I don't think it was fucking simple with an op over there sniping you from across the way. And yet he's still going out here and saying, like, they fucking blasted out our window, those scoundrels. And then goes on to say, like, how these locations are independently owned and operated and don't deserve to be hurt, which is something I've talked about.
That's crazy.
The Bricks and Minifigs locations, these franchisees out there, don't have anything to do with, like, what's happening in this case in particular. They are also probably just as upset as everyone else, because that is really hurting their business, because now no one is trusting Bricks and Minifigs, rightfully so, because the corporation, like the actual meat of it, the headquarters, have proven to be very unsavory and very untrustworthy, and that is hurting the normal people that operate some of these locations, and that fucking sucks. I feel terrible for them, because it's not like they're doing anything that is encouraging the Bricks and Minifigs corporate behavior. They just happen to be franchisee owners across the country that are getting hurt here. And I think most people recognize that those are unrelated. But there are, of course, some people that don't. And I've talked about that too, where some people are going into random Bricks and Minifigs and just fucking fighting everyone. Like, actually physically throwing hands and knuckle sandwiches.
What?
So yeah, there are some people that are a little lost in the sauce there.
What,
But on the
bro?
whole, I think most people recognize that this is a corporate, like, Bricks and Minifigs thing, and specific to those franchisees thing. But anyway, the father going out there and, like, saying, you know, all of this, it is still a wild statement. And it also even shows that Ammon McNeff, like, he is got a very not good past too.
So, just to let you know, we called it double blind.
We've got courtroom interrogation footage.
The person who committed the crime may or may not be in the lineup or depicted. So I will give this to you. You'll have as much time as you need to choose someone or to not choose anyone. Whenever you're able to feel that you have ID'd somebody, I just ask that you circle it and then initial next to it.
Oh, instantly! Instantly, because he knows that he wants Ben to get in trouble.
And then, like that.
Perfect.
Okay. There you go. Okay. Cool.
I feel like this was like the final step that I needed. This is legit. We've been able to verify who he is now.
Yep.
So the police put on this big performance to make it look like they're going to all this work to verify the facts. When in reality, they already know who I am. They already subpoenaed Google. They already watched my entire first Lego video. They already went through all my search history. To me, this just feels like a staged performance so they can show the world, hey, look, we verified everything, when if they would have just put an equal amount of effort into watching the raw footage I submitted to them, they would have found out that Ammon's just completely lying to them, but for some reason they didn't.
I think that's a totally fair and legitimate thing to point out. They went through the ringer for Ammon McNeff. They did everything they could to appease him while seemingly giving no time to Ben's evidence that he submitted. He got no communication with them past the initial case and submitting all of his footage and everything. They never did anything with Ben to work with him from all the available evidence, yet they did so much for Ammon, even going as far as to help him change his claim because his first one was fucking bogus. It was way off. So instead, they gave him a different thing to go for instead. Like, they are doing so much working directly with Ammon while seemingly being like best buddies. Smells kind of corrupt if you ask me. Why did they not do anything with Ben's evidence or Ben's case or work with him? And yes, I agree, like, you can chalk that up to Ben not having a lawyer, but it also doesn't seem like Ammon is bringing his lawyer to these things either. Like, they are talking directly to Ammon himself, not Ammon's legal representative. So why are they willing to extend this courtesy of working directly with Ammon, but not directly with Ben? It is
Corruption.
fucking weird. That is very odd.
A few weeks later, when I ended up going to court, this was the state's response.
My name is Nick Mielstein. I'm the prosecutor. Is Benjamin Schneider here?
Yes.
If you want to take care of that today, we can do what we call a plea in abeyance.
Were you able to see the footage I submitted to the police of our interaction?
I have not watched it, no.
Okay, because in that footage, you can clearly see that the second he tells us to leave, we say, okay, we'll leave. And then he calls the police and said that we threatened to burn down the building and shoot everyone inside. And he was just making up all these lies, which you can clearly see in the footage that we submitted. We were being respectful.
This is gonna be something
the whole
stupid
time.
right now.
We left the second he
The
told us
judge
to.
or whatever is gonna say something dumb.
And so it makes sense why the police would take me to court, because, I mean, he's threatening that we're gonna burn down the building and shoot everyone, but we did nothing. Like, he's just saying that because he's trying to. I'm a documentary maker, so I'm making a documentary on the thing. So his logic is, if he throws me in jail, then if he makes up a reason for me to go to jail, then I won't be able to expose them for their crimes. So that's the what's going on. It's clear as day in the footage if you watch it. It seems like they're just making up a bunch of false information in order to silence criticism.
But did you submit that to the police officer?
Yes.
Is the footage going such that it's still going, like, when you step out the door?
It starts from when we're in the elevator before we talk to him to when we were back in the elevator going back down.
Obviously, a video doesn't necessarily show everything that possibly happened.
So according to...
Again, this is where a...
Are we dead? Oh! Look at the time frame on the footage that he has, and then look at the time frame on the security camera footage of the stupid dude calling the police. It's gonna show if there was enough time for him to come back, say he's gonna kill everybody and all that.
So beneficial here, because Ben does have evidence to prove his side of this story. Ammon has nothing besides his word, which is worthless. That is actually just a little fucking hemorrhoid. His word means nothing. Ben has video evidence, but since Ben is representing himself, it's a little harder for him to make these statements and get this where it needs to go in this system so that it actually leads to what it should, which is justice and proving his side here. And that statement there from the opposing side about, well, a video doesn't necessarily show everything that happened is fucking crazy, considering he hasn't even watched the footage yet. Like, they haven't even looked at the footage yet. So why are you already coping? Why are you already making up like this out? It sounds like they probably know that it does show kind of whole scope of the situation, at least more so than what Ammon is saying. Like, it's fucking ridiculous. And this is where a lawyer would be able to, I imagine, dunk on that.
The state of Utah, the raw video that shows everything that possibly could have happened is not credible and cannot have shown everything that possibly could have happened. And they didn't even watch it. They're literally just taking Ammon's word for everything and completely ignoring all the evidence. So where does this leave me now? Not only am I being charged with a bunch of mystery crimes in American Fork, Utah, but I'm also being charged with a second-degree felony up to 15 years in jail in Provo, Utah. And now that they have written proof that I'm committing all of these insane crimes against them, I mean, obviously Bricks and Minifigs just made up everything, but that's not how the court sees it. The court thinks that these are real. And for whatever reason, the court wouldn't let me share my side. They only heard Bricks and Minifigs' side.
Ben's side was not in the room, was not heard. The court signed an order erasing his published work on the strength of the company's verified complaint and the company's motion, with no one there to say a word against it.
That is how it seems. Again, I'm no legal expert, but some legal experts have weighed in and expressed similar sentiment there. It is looking like it is only hearing one side and refusing to engage in even the slightest capacity with Ben's side and look at his evidence. And that's not right. They are only willing to see and hear from one side, no matter how flimsy the evidence provided from that side is, and using the word evidence to describe Ammon McNeff's word about what was said is just gross, because it's not really evidence. He is just lying, provably lying. It's just, it is not fair. It does not feel fair. Now, again, I do think a lawyer would be able to probably do more here, but even still, in what world is that okay that this guy doesn't have a lawyer, so we're just not going to even look at anything that he has? We'll just go with this corporation, this mega corporation that seems to be real friendly with the police department. They must be the ones that are right, no matter what. And we'll do everything we can, bend over backwards, to ensure that we're fighting for them instead of the little guy. It's just wrong. Now, of course, you can point to some of the stunts that Ben did in some of the videos and say, like, you know, maybe this was pushing it too far, or maybe this was counterproductive to getting things solved. And I think that's a fine critique to have. I think that's very valid. But you should also be able to recognize that he does have very real evidence for his innocence in the face of some of the claims made against him from Bricks and Minifigs that are just outrageous. And those things should be seen, viewed, and actually analyzed by the system here, instead of just rejected based on the merit of his accuser. This corporation, we love those guys. Look at how much money they make and how cool they are. So what they say is right. You don't even have a lawyer. We're not even going to look at your shit. You may have made a case with the police officer here, but we don't even want to look at that. I'm sure he was just, it's stupid. You're dumb. Get out of here. They're right. You're wrong. It's just, that's not how it should be.
Because I have my freedom of speech back, baby. I can say whatever I want. I can say Bricks and
Is he on the
Minifigs
top
sucks.
of a cell
I can say Bricks and
tower?
Minifigs such old people. And look, I just said it. I'm not in jail, which is sick. We got our First Amendment rights back. Yeah.
And now that I have my freedom of speech back, everyone is wondering how Bricks and Minifigs can make up for the fact that they made up all these lies about me to take away my freedom of speech.
They can say that they're sorry by doing the chicken dance. And I will take that as a sincere form of apology. And once they do the chicken dance, then I will know that Bricks and Minifigs is sorry, and we can finally move on to the next video series, and it'll be awesome.
So Ben has been able to release this video. He is able to talk about Bricks and Minifigs again, despite earlier being silenced, gagged, and now he's saying the way they can make it up to him for taking away his freedom of speech is to do the chicken dance to show sincere apology. His reasoning is that they always say these nice things, the right things they'll say, but they never actually do the right thing. So he wants to see their actions reflect it, which is why he wants them to actually do the chicken dance. That's the reason behind it. Now, he didn't really dive into how he got to this point, being able to speak about it now, so I looked into it a little bit. So from what I've read, this case moved up from state to federal court. And in federal court, it's very different. So a federal judge came in and ruled that he is allowed to talk about these things because it is a part of, commentary and investigative journalism. It is explicitly commentary and investigative journalism. Thus, he is allowed to say these things and post this video within reason. He can't just say anything at all willy-nilly. It does need to come from a standpoint of being a fucking investigative journalist. He can't just be doing, the most outrageous, over-the-top things and claims about Bricks and Minifigs now or anything like that. But he is able to talk about them again now. It has been amended, which is great. And it does seem like we're reaching the end game here of the Lego scandal, and it is just fucking wild how all of this has been unfolding.
That is insane, bro.